John Robbie on Talk Radio 702.
Well, let's talk about the tragic situation in Israel. Nothing polarizes our listeners or leads to as much abuse and bigotry on social media as the seemingly endless violence and misery involved in the struggle between Israelis and Palestinians. Both sides claim right is on their side. Both sides point to historical injustices. Both sides claim they want a lasting peace, and yet the bodies and the anger continue to pile up. So let's try, if possible, and get to the heart of the matter. And on the line first, we have the ambassador to South Africa, the Israeli ambassador to South Africa, Ambassador Arthur Lenk. Ambassador, thank you for talking to us, and good morning.
Hi, good morning, John. Thanks for having me on.
All right. First of all, you've been summoned to speak to the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. When is that going to happen?
Well, diplomats meet all the time. I've had a number of meetings with my colleagues in the South African government and across South African society, every day. I was there yesterday as well. Had a very, very positive meeting with the Deputy Foreign Minister, with the Deputy Minister of Turco. And actually, one of the things that we found out is South Africa and Israel really agree. We both agree that the violence needs to stop. We both agree that we have to find a way back to dialogue because both Israelis and Palestinians deserve better. The truth is the missiles from Gaza, the Hamas missiles, have to stop because the people of Gaza and the people of Israel deserve better.
All right. Is it possible, without going through the same accusations and counter-accusations, is it possible to isolate the absolute crux of why we can't get peace in this region? For example, I look at Israel and I say, for goodness sake, there's not enough room for one country, let alone two countries. Is a one-state solution off the table?
A one-state solution is not what the two sides are interested in. We'd love to get to the point of a two-state solution. I believe there is room that, with good faith, with fair and serious negotiations, it's possible to have a two-state solution. In fact, the main difference between us and you is you needed to get married here in South Africa. We need to get divorced. We need to find a way to offer Israelis and Palestinians a better life.
Why do you say that? Why do you say you need to get divorced? Why can't you get together? It's been done in South Africa, and we heard the same arguments on either side before Nelson Mandela and F.W. de Klerk got together. Why can't you have one country with people of different backgrounds work and live together?
Because Palestinians and Israelis have different aspirations. You know, around our world, there are 193 members of the UN, and there's one Jewish state. There's only one. And Jewish history tells us that we need a home of our own. We're entitled. And the Palestinians, too, want a home of their own with their aspirations and goals, and they should have it, too.
So it's religion.
The Israeli ambassador to South Africa, John, is telling you he believes there should be a Palestinian state.
But let's go to the one thing. Why do you need a Jewish state, religion involved? Because there are many secular people who live there. Is it not better in South Africa having one state where everybody can live under the same constitution with the same protections and obviously religious freedom?
Our history, your history is a painful history, so is ours. Just 70 years ago, during the time of the Second World War, Jews had no place to go.
Yes.
They didn't have a state of their own. They didn't have a place to protect them. The fact is we lost one-third of the Jewish people in the whole world during the Holocaust because we didn't have a state of our own. We've got one now, and we've turned what was a desert, what was a place that was really problematic and difficult for hundreds of years into a beautiful, shining country.
Ambassador, we know that. But what I'm saying is, why not have a place of your own if that is the issue? Because Palestinians were kicked off the land. Go back to the history. We know that's true, all right? They want to come back. They can't come back because they won't sign up to a Jewish state, a religious state. They're Muslims. That's totally understandable. Can you not have a place of your own in one country with freedom of religion and equal rights for everybody? Why not?
Because I understand why you say that from a South African perspective. Yeah. But in the Middle East, that's not what the Palestinians want, and it's not what the Israelis want. We just like the Czechoslovakia got divorced into the Czech Republic and Slovakia because there were two peoples with different visions and different ideas about their future. But you know, this week, the reason that we're in the news and the reason that it's so painful is because there's Hamas who says there should be no Israel at all.
But it says
the Jews shouldn't be there at all. Not two separate and not one together, but just them. And it's awful, and they're hurting their own people.
Ambassador, it's a pity because I know I'd love to have a long conversation. But don't the Palestinians, whether they are militants or not, say that we will not recognize an Israeli Jewish state, but we will recognize a state of Israel? In other words, what I've mentioned. Isn't there a difference there?
Well, some who do, and those are the ones we need to talk peace with. What's going on this week is with Hamas, who rejects that idea. They reject any recognition whatsoever. And so what they're doing is they're sending rockets, and there have been over 1,200 in the last week alone on Israel cities.
Okay,
Ambassador,
I'm going to leave you there. Thank you very much indeed. I really appreciate your time, and sometimes I believe in God, sometimes I don't, and I hope God.
me too, John.
I hope God will help Israel and the Palestinians. Thank you for talking to us.
Thanks for having me, John.
Okay, cheers. All right, well, listening to that, we have now Omar Barghouti, and I hope I've pronounced it correctly, and he is a founder, member of the Palestinian Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions Movement, and he's listening in Jerusalem. Omar, nice talking to you. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
We're trying to cut to the chase because obviously the situation, there's allegation, counter-allegation, everybody's got a view of history, etc. The issue now that the Palestinian ambassador said, is it true that Hamas and other Palestinians will not accept a one-state solution under any circumstances?
The introduction and, of course, what the Israeli ambassador said are full of fabrications, inaccuracies.
Right.
This is not a case of a husband and wife in conflict. This is a case of a regime of occupation, settler colonialism, and apartheid occupying, dominating another nation. There is no symmetry there. So I'm shocked that you even would mention both sides. Both sides have narratives. Israeli historians, let alone Palestinian historians, have documented the fact that in 1948, exactly when apartheid was established in South Africa, apartheid was also established in Palestine through ethnic cleansing.
Yes.
Jewish, Zionist militias and later the State of Israel ethnically cleansed the absolute majority of Palestinian indigenous people.
I mentioned that, Omar, the Stern Gang, the terrorism, etc. I understand that.
There is no equivalence. I'm really shocked for a South African to treat this issue as if it's equivalent. Imagine in the 1980s, somebody saying the Afrikaners have their narratives and the blacks have their narratives. You know, they have to get along together and sit together and talk without admitting that there's apartheid.
But Omar, that's what happened. Nelson Mandela came out and he preached reconciliation. But
the narrative was about ending apartheid. It was not about both narratives have equal moral value. No, it was ending apartheid.
No, I'm not. But you see, here's the point. He came out and looked at white fears as much as he did about black, totally honest demands and justifiable demands, because he said that is the way to get over the hurdle of this great divide. And it ended up...
that's exactly what Palestinians are doing. In the last 10 days, Israel has been committing a massacre. Nothing less than a massacre against 1.7 million Palestinians who are besieged and occupied in the most densely populated area in the world, the Gaza Strip. Yesterday alone, 5 Palestinian children were massacred on the beach of Gaza.
Omar, we've covered those. We've covered those, and we're not suggesting that there is not a moral right on one side. All right, I'm trying to get beyond that and looking as Nelson Mandela did into the future. Would it be possible? Please, Omar, let me ask the question because we've only got a minute to go.
You're not letting me answer, so I don't know if
you're not answering. You
want my answer.
You're not answering my question, Omar. I'm asking you.
You're not asking a question that I can answer.
I'm trying to ask you the question I would like answered. Okay, I'm trying to say, why is it not possible to have that single state with equal rights for everybody? Why is that not possible?
Absolutely. For 32 years, I've endorsed a secular, democratic, one-state solution as a person, not as a representative of the BDS movement.
Right.
But to get to that point, to get to any solution, one state or two states, without international pressure in the form of boycott, divestment, and sanctions against the occupying apartheid power, the State of Israel, we cannot get there. As in the South African lesson, Nelson Mandela said it, in the 4 pillars of struggle, the international boycott, divestment, and sanctions against the apartheid regime were absolutely essential to get there, to get to freedom, to get to equality. And exactly the same, to get rid of Israel's regime of occupation, settler colonialism, and apartheid. We need boycott, divestment, and sanctions by the South African governments, by trade unions, by international community, unions, artists, academics around the world. We need action. We don't need charity. We need solidarity. And today, solidarity spells BDS. As a person, not as a representative of the BDS movement, I've always supported a one-state solution, equal rights for all humans, no discrimination whatsoever. The reality is today Israel has more than 50 laws, 50 laws.
Yes, I agree. I am with you. I am with you. But Omar, what I'm saying is it not possible to get to the reason why Israel, which was attempted, Jews were treated in the Holocaust, we know about that. Is it not possible to get to the reason why Israeli people continue with this regime that you talk about, and to deal with the reasons they are so scared to bring about the situation that you and I have agreed we would like to see? Is it simply the recognition of a Jewish state that is the absolute deal breaker at the end of it?
There's absolutely no way on earth that the indigenous population of Palestine will recognize their oppressor as legitimate. There is no way to recognize a Jewish Zionist.
So that is the issue then. That is the issue.
The issue is some people want equal rights and some people want an ethnocracy with privileged rights for Jews, as whites were privileged in South Africa. We don't want any privileges, neither for Muslims and Christians, Palestinians, nor for Jewish Israelis. We want equal rights for all humans. We don't want to discriminate against anyone, but neither will we accept to be discriminated against. For the indigenous Palestinians to recognize their oppressors, their colonial oppressors, as having a right to be privileged and having a right to discriminate against them would be a slave mentality that South African majority has rejected and Palestinian indigenous population rejects.
Omar, thank you very much indeed. One day we'll talk much longer. I can't wait. And we really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. That's Omar Barghouti, founding member of the Palestinian. You see, there's somebody who says, in my own personal view, that is what I want. But A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And you heard from the Israel. I'd love to hear your reaction to it. And let's try and avoid the finger pointing and the mudslinging, okay? Is that possible? That issue of the recognition of a Jewish state, to me, seems absolutely central.